Good morning, students. Today we'll start that banking. More or less, you know that in class 9th or 10th, what do we mean by banking or what do we mean by bank? And this banking one is commercial banks, another is the central bank. Bank is an financial institutions which receive the funds from the public and gives loan and advances to those who need them. The commercial bank and central bank. Generally, I will say that bank is an institutions or the financial institutions who accepts the deposit from the public and advances loan whenever that people need. That is called that bank. So this is the function of that commercial bank. And central bank is that one apex banks that we will discuss in the later. First of all, we will discuss that meaning of commercial bank. So a commercial bank is a financial institutions which accept the deposits from the people and gives loan for various purposes to the people and perform the various other functions that is to be called that commercial banks. It means whenever people needs loan, bank will provide that loan, that is the advance loan, and from that people bank will accept the deposits, that is called that bank generally accept the deposits and gives the loan to the public. Actually there are so many functions, and among them one function as per your course, that is your most important function is that credit creation. So directly we will start that in that credit creations. Credit creation by commercial bank. Whether ICICI Bank, whether Allahabad Bank, whether SBI Bank, any other banks which is to be called that commercial banks. So that one is that high power money. Before we start that credit creation, you know that high power money, it is the money created or produced by RBI, which is to be called that high power money. What are the money are to be produced by that RBI is to be called that high power money. Second one is that LRR, that is legal reserve ratio. You know these terms because it will come in that credit creations. Dear students, you know very well, you have seen also bank and you have already deposited the banks in that saving accounts or that any other deposits accounts. And you have known also from that accountancy. So whenever you deposit money in that any commercial banks, what that banks do? बैंक क्या करता है? It is your money, and whenever you need that money, you can withdraw that money from your saving accounts, or you can deposit that money in that time deposits, the fixed deposits, and when they will be matured, at that time you can withdraw that money from the banks. That is why bank keep on confidence that whenever you need money, bank will pay. So that what is the benefits for the banks? Bank learns that interest and how he earn that interest. Because when you are depositing that money, At that time, bank knows very well that all the people, they will not come together to the bank to withdraw their money. So that this money, part of the money, what you have deposited, that should be given that loans to the public, those who need. This is to be called that also one kinds of credit creations. So I want to say that as bank knows is that at a time people will not come, so he keeps that some money with his own banks. At emergency people will come, he will give to the loan, and every day people will deposit that money in the banks. So this experience of that banks, they have to deposit in that bank. People have to deposit in the banks, and bank use that money as wisely as possible. That is why bank have to reserve some money with himself, and some part of the money which is to be reserved in that RBI as per that RBI guidelines. So legally the banks have to reserve that money in that central bank. That is to be called that CRR. So one legal reserve ratio is CRR, another is that SLR. CRR means case reserve ratio, case reserve ratio, and SR means statutory legal ratio. So as per legally, that commercial banks have to deposit some percentage of money in that Reserve Bank of India. That is to be called that legal reserve ratio. So this part of the money, which is that one is that cash reserve ratio, which is that another is that statutory liquid ratio. Cash reserve ratio, which is reserved in that central bank, and statutory reserve ratio, which is kept by the commercial bank himself to give that money to the public at the time of requirement or at the time of need. So how much the banks use the money, these deposits to give loans, and these function of the commercial banking system are the basis of deposit creations. Deposit creation. How much of the deposits are created is determined by the amount of the initial deposits by the public and the legal reserve ratio. The quantitative outcome is called that money multiplier, or how much times are to be money created by that commercial bank is to be called that money multiplier. So our topic is that credit creations, or which is to be called also money creations, which is also to be known as that money creation. Credit creation, money creation, or it is also to be called that process of money creations. How that commercial bank creates that money, that we will analyze here in detail. That is called, let be that all the transactions by the people will be one bank, and that will be by the check systems. Assumption, remember it. All the transaction will be by the check systems. First conditions here. Assume that all receipts and payments in the economy are to be held by that check systems. It means the receipts and payments will be in one bank, by check systems, and all the people, they have to open their one accounts. So now it is clear. One is that cash reserves, another is that SLR, or statutory liquidity ratio. I will analyze deposit creation by commercial banks. Deposit creation by commercial bank. Commercial banks. So suppose one people deposit in the bank ₹100. कितना डिपॉजिट किया? 100 रुपीज. ₹100. First round. ₹100 is deposited. Or this may be called that, suppose initial stage. कोई व्यक्ति जमा किया initial stage. This is initial stage. ₹100 are to be deposited because bank knows at a time the people will not come to withdraw that money, so that he will give the loan to the public part of the money, so that as per the legal reserve ratio LRR, legal reserve ratio, suppose 20%. So that is 20% means that bank will keep with himself ₹20. How much the remaining amount? 80 rupees. This 80 rupees bank will provide the loan to Y persons. Okay. That Y persons, loan किसको दिया? Suppose Y person को दिया. Or this Y person will deposit in the another bank, that is 80 rupees. First stage, price हो गया. First round में 8 rupees Y person लिया और Y person is deposited here that in that banks. Clear my points? 100 rupees one person deposited in the bank, and from that 100 rupees as per legal reserve ratio 20% is to be deducted, or which is to be deposited in the bank. So 20 rupees is here to be that deposited bank as per the legal reserve ratio, or 100 minus 20 is the 80 rupees. 80 rupees is given to Y person loan. So that Y person, all the transaction receipt and payments will be banked by the check systems. So Y person now, this 80 rupees deposit in the other bank's check. So this 80 rupees now, the bank, what he will do? He will reserve that LRR, legal reserve ratio, that is the as per 20%, 80 into 20% कितना होगा? 16 rupees. 16 rupees is to be reserved by the bank himself, and remaining amount which is to be given the loan to the another Z persons. And Z person, how much he will get the loan? 80 minus 16 equal to 64 rupees. So this 64 rupees is taken by the Z person, and that person again is deposited in that banks, that is that 64 rupees. Again 64 rupees, 20%, that 20% means that is that 0.2 is to be deducted, and it is to be kept in the bank, that 64 into 20 equal to 51.20. So how much amount will remain? That amount will be now 12 rupees 80 paisa. 12 rupees 80 paisa to another persons. कोई A person will. So now similarly, this 12 rupees 80 paisa will be deposited here. See it. Now initial deposit by 100, by pen and paper check system. How much is that? 100 plus 80, 100 plus 80 plus 64 plus 12.80. Like this, that how much amount is to be calculated. So this much amount is to be created by the bank. So accordingly, it is your homework you will calculate 10 to the 0. So if we calculate, then what you will get, the total deposit will be in the bank, that is that 500 rupees. And that 100 rupees which is the LRR, that will be in the bank. This is that 100 rupees. And loan is to be given that 400 rupees. Loan is to be given 400 rupees. So that much is that our calculations. So this is 100 rupees is created to the 500 rupees. That is called the credit creations, or that is to be known as the process of money creations. Credit creation or the process of money creation, or it is to be called the money creation. How it is to be 500 rupees? There is the one calculations, that is to be called that money creation equal to money creation equal to initial deposits our initial deposit is 100 into 1 by LRR, legal reserve ratio. It means initial deposit 100 rupees into 1 by LRR is that 20% of 0.2 equal to 5 10, 5 times. 5 times, that is that 100 into 500. 100 to 500. So if 5 times, it means 100 divided by into 0.02 equal to 5 times, or that is that 100 rupees investment. If we will invest that 100 rupees, then how many times it will increase? 5 times. This is called that multiplier. So multiplier equal to 1 by initial multiplier equal to 1 by LRR. Multiplier equal to 1 by LRR means 1 by 0.2 equal to 5 times. So ये 100 into 0.2 equal to 500 rupees. So that is that 100 to 500 rupees. LRR will be that 20 plus 16 plus 51, 20. If we add like this, we will get that 100 rupees. And how much loan? 80 plus 64 plus 12.8, it will be 400 rupees. This is to be called that credit creations, or it is to be called that money creation by the commercial bank. So money creations we can conclude it here. One is how much money creations. One formula will get that money creation equal to initial deposit upon 1 by LRR. The formula money creation equal to one formula, that is initial deposits into 1 by LRR, or multiplier equal to 1 by LRR. What is multiplier? How many times are increased by that initial deposit is to be called that multiplier. Next, investment multiplier will start that in the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Generally, this is that multiplier by the commercial banks. It means 100 rupees whenever initially deposited, that will be created the 500 rupees. That credit creation by that commercial bank, which is to be called the money creation, which is to be called also that process of that commercial banks of that money creations. Thank you.